Eggs Incorporated is a simple game for someone whose electrical output of their brain does not equate that of an 1890s toaster. But since you're watching this video, you clearly need the extra help. So I'll be doing a in-depth guide to the simple game of Eggs Inc. So first and foremost, you have the obvious. This is your home farm, and what I have going on right now is the Enlightenment egg. It's the final egg that you can have, so you shouldn't expect to see all of this stuff when you first load into the game. When you first load into the game, you will only have one house, a chicken coop right here, and you can hold like 250 chickens, I think. At this point, I'm holding, or I have the capacity to hold 1.2 billion, which you can see here. But then how much I'm actually holding is up in the top left there. So main objective of this game is, and if you click this little blue bar, you can change this layout here. Hold down the red button, and that spawns chickens. If you don't have the epic research for hold to hatch, then you'll just have to click it so that it spawns chickens. And then you have to watch your green bar at the top. That tells you when your hatchery is going to run out of when you can actually spawn new chickens. Yeah, it's that core concept covered completely. You need to manage your population so you can have a healthy flock of chickens while also utilizing the running chicken bonus. If you look in the top left, anytime that you have chickens running, you're going to earn more money. As you can see right now, I have a 240 times boost to my earnings, and I'm earning 4.3 decillion a second. And if I intentionally let the running bonus go away, which it will once all of these chickens find their way into their houses, it'll go down, and you'll see that the money I'm making per second will also drop significantly. Then you can see there are drones flying through the sky. When you knock them out of the sky, you have a chance to earn either money or golden eggs. In the top right, you can see where the golden eggs are. And with golden eggs, you can purchase boosts. I'm on the Enlightenment egg, which means that I can't use boosts because this is supposed to be the hardest egg to like max out. But if I were not, let's say, for example, I'm going to start up a contract, which I'll explain here in a second. But just so that I can use this as an example farm, I'll show you. Actually, this will be a good chance for you to see probably what you see, which is the beginning. No extra silos. You just got your basic research stuff. You probably will actually not even see, like normally for me, there is a little rocket ship pad area here. But if you don't have that yet, don't worry. You just have to get higher up in the chain of normal eggs. But yes, you can hold down the chickens here, and this will spawn all of them. I'm going to make money faster than you would because I have bonuses if you... I'll show that in a minute, but now let's explore. Oh, that's a good example. If you click on a faster drone, the faster the drone is, the more likely that it is to have better rewards. So now you have the research tab, which is the bottom left little chemistry beaker thing. And in order to unlock the next tier, you can see this is tier 2. I can't actually buy any of these even though I have the money. And that's because I have to buy purchases from the tier above. So I have a epic research, which makes it so that I can just hold down the button because it can be tedious when you sit here and you're soul egg farming, which I can explain that as well in this video. But that may be getting a little bit too in depth. We'll see how I feel. But yeah, you can see how if you just had to go through and do all of this a million different times, it would get to be a little bit boring. So that's why they've added that. And if you look, obviously, my eggs per second just stopped increasing in the top middle up here. And that is because my shipping depot, which is the next thing I'll talk about, has maxed out. So they recently added this feature where you can just press the max button and it'll buy the most expensive thing you can afford. But you can also sit here and go through and choose. If you don't want to put all of your net worth into an item, then you could just say buy like this, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it. Silos here, without paying for anything in the app, I believe you can only buy 2, which means that you get a max away time of 6 hours, and then your farm stops making money, things like that. Because I have the pro permit, I can buy 10, which gives me a day and 6 hours. And I believe that, yes, under Epic Research, you can increase the amount of time that you get per silos. So those 2 silos that you can get may only give you 4 hours. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yes, so you've seen Common Research, which is all of this here. This is with money that you buy from the chicken farm. Then the Epic Research is research that you buy with golden eggs. I have mine almost entirely maxed out. I'm still working on maxing out the final 2, but that's just because they're ridiculously expensive and not quite as useful, so I saved them for last. So that kind of covers that core concept. As you can see, this little van here, he just dropped off a box, and that's a gift that you get. I think it's every like 5 minutes. And so it can have golden eggs, it can have boosts for free, and it can have normal cash for your farm as well. So let's say that you have multiple different contracts going at the same time, then you want to make sure that you are whichever one needs the most help, that's the one you would want to be on, because that's where you're going to be getting all of your gifts. So now I'll go back to the main farm that I have and walk through some other stuff. So the core of the game is, like I said in the introduction, very simple, but it does have some off branches which can be a little bit confusing, and I'll try and explain that now. So over here, you may not have any of this stuff yet, actually, which is perfectly fine. But once you get to a high enough level within the eggs, I think it's something like the antimatter egg here, or it could even be somewhere in this area. I'm not entirely sure. But once you get higher up into the eggs, you will unlock Mission Control Board. And so you can actually go through and fuel rockets, essentially, to go and collect what is called artifacts. So here is the Hall of Artifacts. So I'm currently in the Enlightenment farm, which means that artifacts don't work the same as normal farms, but traditionally each one would have its own unique effect. For example, I have some different saved sets here. If you look at this one that I'm hovering over, that gives you 100% egg value boost. This right here does as well. This gives you a increase in your space in your habitat. The reason that can be useful is, let's say that you have this up to like 9.8 billion and you don't want to wait to spend the extra like 26 sextillion that's required to upgrade your habitat space in all the way down here in wormhole dampening. You have to get that up to where you're spending like 26 sextillion to get it to 10 billion. So you can just pop on that artifact instead, and then that gives you a 16% boost to your habitats, and so you don't have to worry about that. So they're useful overall, but when you're first starting off, you're not going to have access to them because they're just, you don't have the ability to do that yet because you're not making enough eggs. Because you have to get specific kinds of eggs. Like, for example, here I have antimatter. I have 100 trillion antimatter eggs stored in this fuel tank. And you just do that by going on to the specific antimatter egg here. And when you prestige, you just have to go keep in mind what eggs you need and then store them in the fuel tank so that you can use them to launch a rocket. And you can see what each one, obviously you can only see the ones that you've unlocked, but you can see what is required for each of the ships. You can see here that there are stars on each of them, and that's just based off of how many of each type you have sent out. So for example, the chicken one, I only have 1 star because I moved past it as soon as I could. The chicken heavy, however, I got to 3 stars because I didn't want to sit there and have to manage multiple different fuel types other than those 2. And then eventually I got down to the Enterprise here, which you really only need 2 if you're going for the base level capacity. Each one I'll show here. If I was to select this one, it has a short, standard, and extended, and each one requires a different amount of fuel and a different amount of eggs or types of eggs. Just the longer that it is, the more artifacts that you're going to get out of it. It's going to cost more, and it's overall going to be more of an inconvenience. I personally never do the extended ones simply because I don't see a point. You're getting more capacity, but the quality isn't really enough to matter, in my opinion. So that's that whole concept explained. That's pretty simple, and you probably don't have access to that yet, but you will, and so you still need to know it. Then you have what is the prestige information. So currently I have almost 50 Eggs of Prophecy, and I believe there's something like 212 Eggs of Prophecy in the game. I stopped playing for a couple of years, so I'm not up to date with a lot of the or I haven't been doing a lot of the contracts that give Eggs of Prophecy, so I don't have them. But you can see I have lots of soul eggs, which is what these are here, and you get them by prestiging. So the game will, the first couple of times, recommend for you to prestige when you get to a certain amount of eggs or a certain amount of money that you've earned, because it's trying to tell you, hey, you could make more money back faster this way. The other way to get either soul eggs or Eggs of Prophecy is with trophies. So currently I'm on the Enlightenment farm, and I'm trying to get 1 billion chickens so that I get a reward of 5 Eggs of Prophecy. The Enlightenment farm is notoriously hard, and more than likely once I get the 1 billion chickens, I'm going to prestige so that I can continue to build up my artifacts and my soul egg number, because I actually, even though I have 42 undecillion, I don't really make enough money to get to the 10 billion chicken limit. I'm already starting to kind of cap out at what I can afford and do just based off of everything that's available here, and that's with you can see just how high my earning bonus is, so you can kind of get a perspective for how difficult it may be. Another reason that it's so hard, because as you can see here, if I was to click on, for example, this normally would have a 14% increase to how fast you gain chickens from your internal hatchery. Well, the Enlightenment egg farm means that you have to use something called Clarity Stones to get any sort of effect off of an artifact. With a normal farm, you don't have to do that. You just get the base boost, and then you can also put stones in there to increase with more types of boosts. The only one that doesn't do this is the Light of Eggendale, which you can see here only gives a 50% increase to the value of the egg, which in my case, the value of the egg is like $0.002 or something anyways to start off with. So yeah, it's a bit crazy. You can see the stats here. And currently, we are looking at a value of each egg is $4,892. So in comparison, when you get to the last egg, the initial value is $100 trillion. And that's just for one egg. And that's not including any of the bonuses that you see here. So each egg for me would actually be worth closer to like pretty much my entire net worth for this enlightenment farm I would make off of a single egg, because that's just how difficult the enlightenment farm is. It's the end game really for the game. As you can see, I've got the max level. I've got 10 billion for every other egg in the game, but I don't have it for the enlightenment farm yet. I only started this recently because I kind of honestly forgot that it existed, and then I came back to the game, and so I decided, oh, you know, what the heck, I'll try it. But yeah, we're making progress on that. So that is pretty much every aspect of the game covered in terms of the core mechanics that you don't have to manage money for. So now I'll come back over to the electric heat because, as I was saying before, the enlightenment farm actually cannot use boosts, and that's what I'll talk about next. So on contracts, you have to wait for something called boost tokens to actually use the boosts, but you can see here all of the boosts regardless. So one of the best ways to earn soul eggs, which is really how you can make a lot of money, is by using boosts. So what I normally do is get to as high of an egg as possible. I was going to go here, I'll go back and show you just a quick on the list. So if you're looking on the list, I would normally start either, depending on how confident you are or on your level, you can start at Nebula and then work your way up to Universe if you're kind of newer, or you can do Universe right off the bat if you have the scaling for it. So when you're on the Universe farm, from the very beginning, what you want to do is you're going to activate the Legendary Soul Beacon, which gives you 500 soul eggs for 10 minutes. You're going to activate a 1,000 times internal hatchery for 10 minutes. You're going to activate 2 of the 50 times earnings. I believe they have one for 10 minutes. Yes, they do. Under the shop, you can see that's 2,500 golden eggs. And then you want to activate a 50 times all active boosts bonus. And that is going to get you soul eggs insanely quick. Generally, you can get the legendary soul beacon here off of contracts if you don't have the golden eggs to spend. I would not recommend spending golden eggs on things like the legendary boost beacon or the legendary soul beacon. I would try and get them off of contracts just because they're so expensive for someone just starting off. And you'll occasionally be able to find them in contracts. With the new contracting grade system, I'm not entirely sure how it works. I started before all of that, and so regardless of what level you were, you got the same reward. But at least my understanding as of the systems right now is that you can still get decent rewards even when you start off. So that's what I would do. And then as you start to get more money, I would actually save it and go into some of the epic research here. For example, when I started playing, really focused heavily on these 3: the prestige bonus, the soul food, and the internal hatchery boost, because that is going to substantially increase your earnings overall and how many chickens you get while you're away, because eventually you'll get to the point where if you have the 200% boost here that you see, you'll actually make chickens faster when you're offline than when you're online. And you're obviously going to spend most of your time not playing the game. So that's a pretty good bonus to go for. And let's see here. I think that pretty much covers all of the actual core gameplay concepts. You can see here, this is a piggy bank. Don't pay $6 for golden eggs unless you get to, because you'll gain money into your piggy bank and you'll gain levels as you do contracts, unless you're over level like 15 and you are going to get a lot of piggy banks. Like, you need to be getting at least 3 million before you even think about buying it. It's just, there's no point. It's real money. Keep that in mind. So, but yeah, that's, as far as I can tell, that's the entire game pretty much explained. I can show a little bit of this here, your contracts and your history. I'm currently, I believe, on either grade A or grade AA. I haven't really been too into this whole new contract system, but it's not super hard to follow either. Just do the contracts and that's it. Yeah. So that pretty much concludes everything that needs to be talked about. I've covered the trophy progress and why that's important. I've covered boosts. I've covered what to buy, what not to buy. I've explained pretty much all of that that's necessary. I've explained all of the common and all of the epic research. I've explained the rocketing system. I've explained the artifact system. And yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know with that. I've explained the piggy bank system. I'll explain this quickly. So special events, they cycle through. You very rarely will find a time that there's not a special event going. And so if you are on a really difficult egg, like let's say that you refuse to prestige, you want to finish off a specific like trophy before you prestige. I did that a couple times. I really wanted to, get to that 1 billion before I prestige, that sort of thing. Then I would wait for these special events because they're usually going to give you a huge advantage for, like for me, for example, I waited until I got this 80% off of the hen houses so that I could buy all of these planet portals so that my capacity could be over 1 billion, because that's the trophy progress that I'm going for currently, is to get the 1 billion chickens. So that normally would have cost me, let's say, 190 undecillion each. Well, with this, it only cost me like 20. So it's a much more obtainable number. And eventually you'll get the eggs. You'll eventually get the chickens. It's just affording the space for them. So with that, you can. So just keep that in mind. And you can also, they will occasionally have 2 events to look out for, especially if you're trying to get soul eggs, is they have some that will boost how long boosts last for, and then they have some that will triple, and very rarely they will have some that will quadruple the amount of soul eggs that you get as you play the game. I think those are really only on special events like New Year's and stuff like that, but they occasionally do have triple and double. Double's pretty common. So yeah, just look out for those if you want to be doing runs specifically for trying to get the soul eggs. And in the meantime, I would definitely focus more on getting eggs of prophecies by trying to either complete milestones with the trophies or by logging in every month. As you see here, prestige information, there's 2 different ways that you can get it, is with contracts and then with trophies and daily gifts. And trophies are going to get you probably close to 40, let's say, eggs of prophecy, and the rest, the 24 others, is going to come through daily gifts. So just by playing the game, eventually you'll start to build up eggs of prophecy, and you can see that the eggs of prophecy are important because they're compounding on your earning bonus. So you make a lot more money for every single egg of prophecy. So one egg of prophecy isn't going to matter that much. 10, well, it'll start to add up a little bit, but by the time that you're getting into 50 and then 100, you can see the example here. It goes off the rails very quickly of how important it is. So I would just keep that in mind. Target those eggs, and once you see a opportunity like an event, a special event that boosts the soul eggs, that's when I would start to focus on those. Or if you're just bored of doing eggs of prophecy, you don't have to intentionally play the game perfectly. You just have to play it for fun. I am a big fan of knocking the drones out, so even though it doesn't really matter, I maxed out the drone rewards here, and that was one of the first things that I did just because I enjoy taking the drones out, and that's like one of the first things that I did. I think you can also increase how common they are somewhere in here. I do remember seeing that somewhere. But regardless, doesn't really matter. You can look through that on your own time and see what you think matches your playstyle the most. And yeah, that's the guide. There's not really anything else to it. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask in the comments section, and I definitely will not answer them, but hey, they're still there. All right, bye.